Saurian has had a long and tiresome past. Recently I spoke about how an ex-lead developer stole $75,000 from the game, and that he was silently bleeding the coffers dry without anyone really noticing. And today I'm going to be talking about a more hopeful stance. I ended the video on a hopeful stance, talking about the game has a future ahead of it, and today I'm going to be talking about steps that the developers are making to ensure that there will be a good future for the game. It's always good to talk about a story like this, where you start off with a bad part and you go through the success story towards the end. It's always nice to see that change around. And of course, without further ado, let's get right into it. The biggest and most recent change is an engine upgrade. Now, Saurian is made on the Unity engine, which is quite like Prehistoric Kingdom and the game that I'm working on, Prehistoric Fury. But the developers, of course, are working on an older version of Unity, which is Unity 2020. Now, I do want to say, Unity, of course, when compared to other engines, does have its problems as well. It can often lead to some performance issues in like vegetation heavy environments, so developers have to adjust, and sometimes it costs graphically. However, the engine for Unity has now been upgraded to Unity 2021 for Saurian's development. This is a big advancement for the development of the game, and especially helps with one main thing that had been annoying the developers of the game, and that was compilation times. Compilation times are essentially the time it takes for a code of the game to compile after a change has been made. This can take a couple seconds on engines like Unreal or in Unity 2020, as with the case with the developers. This was taking minutes, and if not more than that on some occasions, which can lead to a lot of issues. You know, when you're compiling something for a minute, you'll lose concentration, and then you'll most likely go back to it with less motivation. However, it did get to the point where it did take minutes for the developers to change or compile even the smallest of changes in Unity 2020, and as time went on and updates were made, this just kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger, which obviously, as a dev team that was working out of their free time, meant that most of the time was spent in compilation times. Now, they've upgraded it to Unity 2021, which has allowed compilation times to be more bearable. This helps especially for the developers who are working on the game in their free time, and it's something that is a great advancement for them nevertheless, as it's less time being eaten up by compilation times, more time focusing on the game's development and planning out development of the game. Additionally, they have gained a new plugin, which is Enviro. This is something that is an upgrade to two previous plugins, which change the game's vegetation and handle the weather and time of day in the game as well. So it handles all of them, which were separate individual plugins which sometimes would clash with one another. Now it's under the roof of one, which is Enviro. And additional upgrades, we're talking about so many upgrades because a lot have been in the works for this game lately. They have made some changes to the handling of the post-processing, and that has been changed to use Unity's post-processing 3.0 system, which should eliminate any previous wonky issues which the previous system had. Now, after the mating patch was released into Saurian, the development team has focused on a brand new update which will be coming to the game in the near future, and that is everything to overhaul for the environment. This is actually something that really helps with the new plugin that they've got, Enviro, which helps handle vegetation and changing the game's weather and time as well, which is things that will be getting changed in this update. The developers had to first gut out everything to do with the previous plugins, which did take some time. Plugins like Tenkoku and Aquas, as well as the Vegetation Studio as well, were all gutted out and replaced with new plugins like Enviro. Once this was done, however, they implemented the new Enviro plugin, which has adjusted the time of day, clouds, rain, and more. In fact, there is a video showcasing the new plugin's availability in the game and how it looks, which looks absolutely beautiful. The developers also made some tweaks to the weather manager so it better communicates with the Enviro plugin as well, which has led to working rain in the game. Now, if you previously played Saurian, there was obviously sometimes an issue with rain where sometimes players players wouldn't be able to see the rain, or it wouldn't be that clear or noticeable at all. Sometimes it just happen and you wouldn't even know it's raining. That being said, now it looks really nice. You could tell when it's raining, which is a big step up from before, which is great, and often or not, this is a very nice change. And as of September 30th, which is only a couple days ago in retrospect, I mean a couple weeks ago now when this video goes up, we have a further update on this. The game is now in internal testing phase for this environmental patch, which seems to be, of course, the environmental update. The next update for the game is now in internal testing. There are also new clouds in the game as well, which showcase obviously new time of day stuff too, which makes the night sky and the nightscape in general look a whole lot more beautiful. Here's a good picture to showcase the before, which looks a bit glum and dreary, and the after, which looks absolutely beautiful. Now, the developers have outlined the fact that it does look a little bit dark at the moment. They did say this is something that they are looking into changing and making sure that the nights are not really hard to see, and of course making sure that everything is nice and visible regardless. I really like this, and I'm so excited for the changes that are coming to the game. The environment update is going to be a big update, especially considering this game is quite old, and so the environment of the game is getting dated, especially on Unity, because obviously you had to make changes and amendments to ensure the game worked on the engine. That being said, very excited, and let's move into the final big change that is very good for the game's future, and that is some changes to internal QA. Final part I'm talking about in this video is changes to the QA. Now, I did talk about the fact that the future of Saurian does definitely lie on a lot of changes that are coming here. New game engine changes, new environmental overhaul, and now QA, which is probably one of the biggest. Now, some of you may think, oh, QA isn't that important, the developers can do the testing themselves, but when it comes to the performance of a game in the future, getting insight from a community and squashing bugs, QA is the most important thing for game updates, and having an ineffective QA team that's not able to find bugs can often lead to some problems and longer wait times before an update is released. The developers talk about that previously the game's QA was inconsistent, and the overall approach that they had put forward to QA and bug tracking was severely lacking in all areas. Henry, one of the developers, has since been applying and learning a lot of how to structure QA overall. He's taken inspiration from his current daytime job, which is essentially at a big game studio where you can see this stuff hands-on. He's bringing that level of management to Saurian's QA system, rebuilding it from the ground up to ensure that obviously everything is perfected that way. They developed a new task and bug tracking workflow and have brought on more QA members to the team, who have been individually met by Henry and other developers and spoken to in order to help them familiarize themselves with the game's bug reporting guidelines and overall systems to ensure everybody is on the same page. Every QA that joins gets basic training, which will significantly increase the capacities of the QA overall. And of course, this is something that's gone very well. They've received a lot of volunteers for the QA so far, and the devs have even mentioned that these QA are helping them get the environment overhaul patch out there and into internal testing. And they also mentioned that it's getting closer to making the playable T-Rex a lot more smoother, which is another thing that you can expect in the future of Saurian, a playable T-Rex. And there we have it. Some happy news about Saurian, a game that everybody knows and loves in the dinosaur community, a game that's been through it all. I'm pretty sure it's actually been through 2 dramas, because I was only told about the £75,000 one through the public knowledge, but I believe there was another drama in the past which I'm not too well versed on, so if anyone does know about it, feel free to tell me about it. Anyways guys, do let me know your thoughts in the comments down below about all of this Saurian news, and yeah, this hopefully ends the saga of Saurian, and I wanted to end it on a high note, which is the future of the game. And let's see and hope that this game will blossom to be an absolute piece of art. Anyways guys, I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you all in the next one. Have a great day. Peace.